Gators Breakdown, because there's never a dull moment in Gator Nation.
The Gators Breakdown podcast is ready to go. I'm your host, David Waters, and you can find me on social media at GatorDave_SEC, coming at you with some class of 2025 updates. It's been a while since we talked recruiting, of course, in the grand scope, of course, getting some commits last week. But let's zoom back out just a little bit. It's the month of May now. Official visits will start happening in June. Well, actually at the end of this month. So it is a good time to zoom out a little bit, take a good look at the targets in this class of 2025 once again. So hit that like button. Subscribe right here to Gators Breakdown, whether it's on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. But if you're on YouTube, smash that like button. Really, really goes a long way. That helps us. No, right. All that support right here on YouTube really, really helps us out. And hey, look, I mean, a lot of reasons to support what we're doing here on Gators Breakdown, and many ways to do that. Of course, Gators Breakdown Plus is certainly a way. That has been some really good conversations on that Discord. You can get access, extra episodes, access to that Discord, ad-free episodes, all that good stuff happen there at Gators Breakdown Plus. But also, for the month of May, another way to support us, gatorsbreakdownmerch.com, 25% off the Gators Breakdown merchandise using code May25. It's gatorsbreakdownmerch.com. If you're right there on YouTube, there's links to it, of course, in the description, the podcast description, all that good stuff. Some good designs, kind of get you ready for summertime right here. Gators Breakdown style, gatorsbreakdownmerch.com. One other way to support what we're doing right here on Gators Breakdown. So, all right, let's get into it right here. 2025 recruiting. We'll start at quarterback, of course. We won't go position by position here, mostly position by position, but not all the positions here. But let's start at quarterback, of course. And Ryan Montgomery, last month committed to rival Georgia, and Georgia was showing interest in other quarterbacks, but it didn't really matter. Montgomery commits to the Dogs anyway, and hey, look, recruiters recruit. We all know that. Georgia certainly can afford to play that game that way and still get their guy. So, of course, that's going to cause Florida to pivot, losing one of, if not, the top target on the board. So let's go to another name we have talked a whole lot about. That's Antoine Hill, still high on Florida's board. But for Hill, he wants to play early in his career, and the thought of sitting behind DJ Lagway may be a bit too much to overcome. Not that he's afraid of competition, but he wants to play early. And I mean, I think we kind of know DJ Lagway is the guy here, and I don't take that as a slight of he doesn't want to compete. In this day and age, this world of college football, guys want to play. So, of course, Memphis is the other hot team out there. Georgia Tech, Florida State, Louisville, Duke, kind of also in the mix. But aside, Florida, Memphis is getting a whole lot of love right now. But I would think Memphis having that great NIL package that's kind of been released in the last few weeks with that FedEx money. So he says he wants to see how Florida uses DJ Lagway. But, he did tell Gators Online one more time, quote, "I ain't scared of no competition," said Hill. He goes, "It's really the opportunity in trying to get on the field and learn as much as I can in the first few years of college because I want to be 3 and out." So, of course, if he sits behind, Lagway, he'd only have about 1 year of college football. So maybe his best route, he wants to see is if DJ Lagway is going to be playing for Florida, more than likely he's going to be. Hill would be sitting behind him. So it's going to be, the old adage, recruiters recruit. Still, it's going to be hard to stack a quarterback room like that. If you're in Florida situation right now, but still some good options. Maybe in 25, we'll get into here in just a second. Also 2026 for the Gators. But because Florida has DJ, so they will probably be there for 3 years, and then he'll be gone. If I come behind DJ, I'll have to sit for 2 to 3 years. That's something me and my family got to really talk about. Just sit down and have a really good talk with Florida to get that situated. So July 13th might be Hill's decision date. That is his birthday. That plan has not been finalized yet. All right, so let's go around a little bit, and let's go to the city of Jacksonville. and Mandarin. Hey, right down the road from my house. I'll do what I can right here to help. But Tramel Jones, of course, current Florida State commitment, has some good connections in the state of Florida. He could be a magnet to help pull others in the state. So visited Florida back in early April, but still waiting to see if that, for the official visit in the coming months for the Gators. He does say, I'm 100% locked into Florida State, which is why I'm committed, but also want to make sure. Closing it down is a big thing, in the quote. So head coach Billy Napier has been the primary point of contact for Jones, and Ryan O'Hara in this mix as well, as he always is at the quarterback spot, communicating with him frequently. With that, he's just not ready to shut down his recruitment. So it seems like Jones isn't ready to do that just yet. He goes, quote, I do like them. I think they're really trying to build something this year. I think Coach Napier just needs to win games. That's the only thing. In the quote. Let's read that one more time. I do like them. I do think they're really trying to build something this year. I think Coach Napier just needs to win games. That's the only thing. It's going to be results on the field are going to matter more so than they ever have for Florida. We saw they mattered a little bit down the stretch last year, but in this cycle as well, especially for two guys at Mandarin. Now, some things can change before then, but Hilton Stubbs, the safety, committed to USC, but he's also admitted he wants to see what Florida does in the fall. Tramel Jones, I just think Coach Napier just needs to win games. That's the only thing. It is the only thing. He's right. But it's just, you see where a lot of recruits are standing on this right now. So of the 3-star, Andrew Ivins of 24/7 Sports offers, quote, an experienced signal caller with cleaner mechanics that has improved in every key statistical category since earning the starting nod as a freshman on varsity. So in 2023, he helped power Mandarin this past season to an 11-4 record in the Sunshine State's 4M championship game. Completed 183 of 302 passes. That was good for 60.6% for 3,195 yards, 33 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. Also ran for 132 yards and a touchdown per max preps. He became the first 3,000-yard passer in the Gateway Conference since Georgia quarterback Carson Beck, who was also at Mandarin, back in 2018. So that's what he did last year. Like I said, played in 2022, played the season before in 2021 as well, winning the job as a true freshman. So a lot of experience here for Tramel Jones in Jacksonville at Mandarin. So the other name, of course, that we've been bringing up, discussing, Keelan Russell out of Texas. So the board certainly seems to be that right now. Hill, Tramel Jones, Keelan Russell. So he's certainly on this list as well. 4-star out of Texas, Duncanville, Texas. He's announced his commitment to SMU back in September 21st. Despite that pledge to the Mustangs, other programs, of course, still going after the 6'2.5", 175-pound quarterback. Florida will receive an official visit June the 7th. So big to get that visit there. As of now, official visits to Ole Miss, who I know has gotten a crystal ball. But Ole Miss, SMU, they're scheduled. Alabama, Houston, Oregon, Texas, UCLA are also programs trying to get consideration here. But the thing is, the Alabama and Texas have not made offers yet, but they are showing big-time interest. If either one makes an offer, they're, of course, likely to become major factors here. According to Russell, who also said he'd like to shut down his recruitment by the middle of the summer, says it's going to be very tough to flip him from SMU. With all of this, it's going to be even harder to pull Russell away when you throw the home state Longhorns into the mix. And then, of course, Kalen DeBoer, what he can sell on offense at Alabama. He did go on to say, you see what they did with Michael Penix, Russell said. I just feel like that's exactly where I need to be. I feel like that offense will take me to the NFL quicker than a lot of offenses. Would say the offense is so special because it not only develops you into the NFL quarterback, but it's pro style. So did go on to say, SMU stands very high for me right now, he told On3. But as of right now, I'm still very much open. I'm still taking college visits and still talking to other coaches. So Florida did host Russell for an unofficial visit back in February. Gators made a big impression on him. That was his first time in Gainesville. Last season led Duncanville to a 14-1 record and its second straight Texas 6A D1 state title. Completed 189 of 262 passes. That was good for 72.1%. Threw for 3,483 yards, 38 touchdowns with only 3 interceptions. Also ran for 361 yards and 6 touchdowns, averaging 5.82 yards per carry. So that's what he did last year. I'd say probably on the outside right now as we sit in May, probably on the outside looking in for him. I'd say maybe Florida's best chance is flipping Tramel Jones from FSU, which I think is very possible here. FSU's kind of gotten, they know that too, so they're probably going to start targeting and talking to other quarterbacks as well. I think that's part of that storyline there. Not saying it will happen for Florida here, but of course, I think if you look at it, with Hill probably trending elsewhere, not wanting to sit behind DJ Lagway, and then of course with Russell here being from the state of Texas, maybe Texas, Alabama get more involved. You have to start worrying about that there, or maybe him staying committed to SMU. Maybe Tramel Jones from up the road in Jacksonville get him to flip from Florida State at some point. But that's the major targets, major storylines at the quarterback position now for the Gators. All right, so let's keep it going. Going to skip over running back for now with Florida having Waltez Clark committed. Just not a whole lot of talk about, straight talk of, where Florida feels really good about a running back right now. So, anything, of course, changes along the month here. We got plenty of time to talk about that. But as we get May started, let's talk major storylines here with Florida already having a running back. Not a dire need as far as these other positions right now. So let's go straight to wide receiver because there's a lot of names here at wide receiver. Let's start with the legacy. Vernell Brown III, top 100 player, top 10 wide receiver out of Orlando, should be trimming his list down soon. Florida's expected to make that cut along with schools from the group of Ohio State, Florida State, Miami, Alabama, Stanford. Ohio State still may be the school to beat here at this time. He's visited Florida 3 times in the spring. Recently announced he will take an official visit to Florida June 14th through the 16th. Brown will begin his official visits with Ohio State. That's May 31st to June 2nd. Then after a free weekend, we'll visit Florida that June 14th through the 16th weekend. And then Tallahassee the following weekend from June 21st to the 23rd. Also plans to officially visit Miami and Stanford. The dates have not been confirmed for those yet. So, especially throughout camp season right now, he has shot up the rankings in recent months. Serious threat with the ball in his hands. Charles Power of On 3 says he has, Charles Power of On 3, quote, he has a case as the best yards after catch receiver in this cycle. High praise there from Charles Power. Brown caught 70 passes, about 1,300 yards, 10 touchdowns while on offense, scoring 4 times on special teams, 3 punt returns, and a kickoff return. But something to keep an eye on here, and reason Florida doing a really good job with Tramel Jones, maybe flipping him from Florida State. But Jones is 7-on-7 teammates with Brown, so maybe you do flip Jones down the road. Could that help get Vernell Brown in the long run? Something to keep an eye on if that flip happens with Tramel Jones. All right, let's go keep it going. Caleb Cunningham, 5-star wide receiver from Mississippi, has set his official date for Florida, June 7th through the 9th. One of the top players in the country looks to decide in December, so he will have seen Florida play on the field. We talked about that factor early on. Well, if you got a guy wait until December, he's going to see everything Florida has to offer this fall before he makes that decision. As of now, it's hard seeing him lead the state of Mississippi for either Mississippi State or Ole Miss. But if we'll see the season play out, who knows? Ole Miss going through just as Jackson Darts last year, so they'll be trying to figure out their quarterback coming up. Mississippi State, we'll see what they do with new head coach Jeff Levy. So maybe the season doesn't go as well for Mississippi State, and maybe Jackson Dart, he leaves, and there might be some questions at Ole Miss about quarterback, and maybe some things that can help in Florida's flavor here. But I doubt he leaves the state of Mississippi either way. Alabama, Auburn, Florida, Florida State, Georgia, Georgia Tech, LSU, Mississippi State, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, South Carolina, Tennessee are the schools he is focused on. So still a good bit of schools here with a long time before he has to make that decision. Cunningham will take an official visit to Auburn May 31st, Florida June 7th, Tennessee June 14th, and Alabama June 21st. Of course, DJ Lagway is a big reason Cunningham is interested in Florida. Another big time. For receiver here, I'm going big prospects that if things go right for Florida, you could see these big names end up. Now, I know big name hunting at wide receiver, that position hasn't quite been there just yet under Billy Napier. But these are big names. If they are going to be Florida Gators down the road, these are the guys I want to concentrate on. So Dallas Wilson, another top player, another top wide receiver in the country, current Oregon commit out of Tampa. He sent an official visit for Florida June 14th. We'll visit Oregon, Miami, Florida State as well. And I know many think Miami may be the big threat to flip him from Oregon, but from what I've gathered, so is Florida. And I'm not saying if he flips, it's going to be Florida. I'm not predicting Florida, but letting you know, Florida is in this one just as much as Miami is. And I know Miami seems to be that hot name if he's going to flip. 6'3", 190-pound, twitchy wide receiver, has the ability to win at the catch point, offer some run after catch ability as well. He's up there as well, just like Vernell Brown and some of the best catch and run ability in the class. Loves to block as a receiver. So, Billy Gonzalez, he's going to praise him on that one. Caught 49 passes, 879 yards, and 9 touchdowns as a junior last year. Projects as a versatile X option at the receiver spot with the ability to threaten all areas of the field. All right, so let's go back up the road. Let's go to Mandarin again in Jacksonville. That's where Jamie French, another top wide receiver in the country, one of the top overall players in the country, teammates with Mandarin quarterback Tramel Jones out of Jacksonville, and another top player at this position that Florida is working on. Certainly have a lot of work to do here. Plays big for his 6'1", 185-pound frame. I know talking to Jamal St. Cyr there at News for Jacks here in Jacksonville, I work with Jamal. He thinks Jamie French is the best player in the area. And high praise there. But plays inside and out, strong hands, break tackle ability, catch and run ability. Last season, 62 passes caught, 1,247 yards, and 14 touchdowns. Of course, was committed to Alabama at one time. Nick Saban retires, opens a commitment back up. But looks like he'll be in Gainesville May 31st. Miami's going to get a visit. Tennessee, Texas. And it was surprising not to see Ohio State on that list, but they'll likely get their official visit in the fall. So for now, Florida, May 31st. Miami the next week. Tennessee the week after that. And then Texas after Gainesville, Miami, Tennessee, Longhorns on June 21st. So, I bring him up because, if it works out down the road one more time, if you can flip Tramel Jones, he has admitted that would help Florida, not necessarily they're not a package deal, but it would help Florida in the long run. Florida has a long way to go here before I think you start feeling great about any kind of flip here. But we'd start with flipping Tramel Jones first from Florida State. And I said flip French, but no, not flip him. But get him in the fold down the road. You got to flip Tramel Jones first. Florida can get into the race, but a long way to go. Just don't shut the door on this one, as it does seem unlikely right now. Just don't shut the door on it. Another name, Kobe Howard, 4-star out of Hollywood, Florida. He was set to commit March 31st, but didn't push that decision. There was a good chance that Florida would have been the pick then for the top 350-ish overall player. Seems like a Florida State battle right now, with many still feeling and leaning the Gators. Maybe could get him with more of a push. I've just brought up a whole lot of big names here. Is Florida waiting? We'll see. He's visited Florida State recently at their spring game, has an official set for Florida on May 31st. Another 4-star receiver, Javon Boggs out of Cocoa. Before Boggs made up his mind to join the Buckeyes in October, he was really torn between Florida and Ohio State. But he's back on the market now. Florida didn't waste any time getting back in the game. They made a big move by getting Boggs in April. Florida's been pretty much up front with how much they want him on their side. They've been reminding him that he's been interested from the get-go. But they're not the only ones. Georgia, Missouri, UCF also hoping to win him over. But, Florida, that interest in him from the get-go had high interest before. Maybe Florida ends up with Boggs in the end. And then let's go. Donovan Olagbode from IMG. He'll visit Florida June 14th through the 16th. Says all of his top 5 are even. That list includes Florida, Missouri, Oregon, USC, and Washington. The decision will come after all these visits and before his senior season starts. So look for maybe a July decision here, maybe early August. Florida selling early playing time at the X receiver spot for the pass catcher. He had 31 catches for 561 yards last year and 5 touchdowns at IMG. And then one more before we wrap up here at receiver. The storyline that I brought up early on in this cycle is getting that bigger bodied receiver. And of course, one more time, that could come in the form of legacy recruit, the son of former Gator tight end Cornelius Ingram. Cornelius Ingram II would certainly provide that needed size. 6'4", 200, has that frame to become a problem there. If you got to switch positions full time, he's played quarterback, led his team to state titles at the quarterback spot, but wide receiver might be his next position if he were to choose Florida. Florida loves his potential as a receiver. He has Florida near the top of his list, and also Louisville, but Louisville does want him as a quarterback. Florida wants him as a receiver. So, to take that versatility even further, Ingram has the green light at Florida to also play basketball, just like his dad did back in the day. So Florida is going to be hard to beat given it feels like home, strong relationship with the staff, especially Coach Billy Gonzalez, the proximity, the location, close to home. Decision likely to come in the fall, according to Ingram, but trying to get those official visits underway. Florida, Louisville, one more time. Those are the schools that stick out. All right, let's keep it going, and let's go offensive line. Let's go to big uglies up front. Enoch Wangoy, he, of course, reclassified from the class of 2025. He was in this class, so no longer. Now part of 2024. Be on campus something later this month. And Florida also recently lost a commitment of Peyton Joseph, so back to 0 for this position group. Let's start with Zaire Addison. 4-star Addison visited Florida April 11th, again on April 13th. Gators have made a big move here. Got that official visit to Florida for May 31st. Florida State, Oregon, Penn State are also getting OVs. The top 200-ish player overall at a Sumner High stands at 6'4.5", 280 pounds. Primarily played tackle at the prep level, but ceiling might be highest at one of the guard spots. Looks like right now Florida the staff sees him as a tackle, but we'll see. You got to see how he develops that size of an offensive lineman, see where he fits down the road. He's a fan of the NFL experience of Rob Sale and new offensive line coach Jonathan DeCoster. So one to keep an eye on there. Florida's made a big move recently for Zaire Addison. Another name that's been brought about a whole lot lately, another FSU commit, so it had to be a flip here in the works, would be Solomon Thomas out of Jacksonville Reigns. Continuing to get that strong interest from Florida. He's actively engaging in the recruiting process. He's not just going through the motions, not just visiting Florida just to visit Florida. So listening to offers from multiple programs. Thomas, one of the country's top offensive linemen, visited Florida in March. This visit allowed him to watch the Gators scrimmage, connect with the coaches in person. But Florida's growth is a major selling point to Thomas, he's considering many programs, of course, even though committed to Florida State, Georgia, Miami, LSU, still getting some love. But Florida, Miami are pursuing him really heavy, trying to get him to flip from rival FSU. But another factor could influence Thomas's decision. And one more time, I bring up Tramel Jones, trying to get that relationship here in Jacksonville. Tramel Jones would be a magnet player for Florida. I know, only 3-star quarterback, and you thought this would happen last year with DJ Lagway to some extent with the 5-star quarterback. But Tramel Jones in Jacksonville, the connections there at Mandarin, of course, at other schools in Jacksonville, and 7-on-7 in the state of Florida. So he could be a linchpin. But there's some connections there too, here in the River City. Both are committed to FSU, but their recruitment is far from over. Both entertaining Florida really, really heavy. So the next step for Thomas, official visits, of course. Let's go LSU on May 31st, Florida June 7th, and then return to Tallahassee on June 21st. So most people see Thomas playing guard at the next level. All right, Tavares Dice, Auburn commit. He's got an official visit planned for Florida on June 14th. Auburn doesn't care for the Florida love right now. They prefer him not to take this visit to Florida. A top 200 player, 6'4", 295 pounds, also plays basketball at the prep level. Says Florida does have a legit chance to flip him. Really close battle between Florida and Auburn right now. Florida feeling pretty good where they stand and trying to make this flip happen. Doesn't mean it will happen, just saying they feel good. Feel good about the process right now of making the flip happen. Doesn't mean it will. Doesn't mean it will. All right, let's go to defense. And let's start with Jeremiah McLeod, the most recent commit there. Just listen to most recent episode of Gators Breakdown. Big time get for the Gators. Underrated player. I know that can be said a whole lot for 3-star players. You guys know I don't say it a whole lot. I'm sticking, foot planted firmly in the ground. Jeremiah McLeod, underrated. He's going to rise in the rankings. He's going to be a good football player. Good get to get ahead of other programs to flip him from Mississippi State. So let's keep it going. Another name up front. We'll go back to Auburn. Another Auburn commit, Malik Autry. Not much separating the Gators and Tigers amidst Autry, but going to be hard to flip him. I think, probably feel better about flipping Dice more so than Autry right now. Early playing time is going to be a big part of this. Auburn is doing a good job of selling that. But, Florida could do it as well. Cam Jackson will be gone. Caleb Banks could be with a good season. So there is a path for early playing time at Florida too. But right now, that's anywhere in the country. I mean, just think about the state of college football right now when you say early playing time. There's early playing time. It doesn't exist in a for sure manner like it used to because of the transfer portal. If teams know they have a lack of experience, maybe lack of talent at a position, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to hit the transfer portal. So whatever perceived early playing time staffs can sell right now, they're going to bring in transfers at the same time. So I think true freshmen have got to get used to that, or recruits have got to get used to that as a selling point. Yep. Hey, this guy's leaving. Now, it does leave you an opportunity, but the opportunity is not what it used to be in college football. When you knew a guy was graduating and, they were going to allow on some freshmen to fill at least a depth piece, maybe come in right away. But that's not the case now. You can just go fill whatever gap you have on your roster with the way the transfer portal is. So whatever playing time may look like right now could be wiped away with portal signees. Early playing time does not mean, does not need to be the main focus for recruits. Not the way it used to be. So another focus for Autry is how teams do on the field this fall. He told Keith Niebuhr of Gators Online, quote, "It will be a telling factor how they do this year. Auburn's schedule is easier. I'm expecting 8-4, 9-3. Florida has it way tougher. Just the future of Coach Napier and how long he has there, just trying to see with this season how it could go. Just something positive to let me know Coach Napier will still be there." So if that flip is to happen, does it seem like it would be close for Autry? He wants to see how Florida is going, how both programs are going to do on the field this fall, but certainly wants to know or get a better positive feeling around Coach Billy Napier and the Gators. So results on the field, once again, are going to matter. All right, let's go to the second level of the defense. At linebacker, Christian Gass is a name gaining momentum. 6'4" linebacker from the state of Georgia. He returned to campus, expressed high praise for the Gators, saying, quote, moved up a lot in his recruitment. His stature is reminiscent of Florida's Grayson Howard. That comparison has been thrown out there. The staff made that comparison to him. Discussing his projected fit during a recent visit was a significant highlight. The Gators are prioritizing Gass, which is making a significant difference here. They stand a real chance. Gass has OV set to Florida on May 31st, USC on June 7th, Kentucky on June 21st. Georgia's another school, the in-state school to keep an eye on here. He plans to make a decision before his senior season begins. Let's go down to IMG again. Nathaniel Owusu-Boateng. He's really making a name for himself as one of the standout linebacker prospects. Florida with Ron Roberts, assistants Cannon Gibbs, Brandon Spikes as well there at the linebacker spot. They've really been putting in the work here, continuing to lay the foundation that Jay Bateman laid. Owusu-Boateng was high on Jay Bateman, but they're continuing the work that he's built. It's clear Nathaniel feels a strong connection to the team. He's often talked about the brotherhood of Florida, how they're invested in his personal development. Nathaniel is planning on setting up an official visit during the season. He wants to soak up the game day atmosphere, not just that summer atmosphere like so many guys are going to make a decision before their senior season. He wants to set up visits during the season. So right now, seems like Florida's in a good position, along with Georgia, South Carolina, Stanford, and that decision likely to come in December after he sees all these schools and those official visits in the fall, see how the Gators are doing during the season. One more name from my neck of the woods where I grew up, right north of where I grew up. Grew up right there, Blackshear, Georgia. Stetson Bennett for Georgia, the quarterback. But right up the road in Jessup, Tavion Wallace, another running back, one of the top, if not top targets at linebacker for Florida this class. Seems to be trending heavy FSU. I still would certainly lean that way heavily. A lot of work to do for Florida, but they're keeping up the pressure. Top 50 player. Might be closing that gap a bit. Official visit set up for June 14th with FSU getting theirs the very next week. Wallace he grew up a Gator fan, but mainly in part because his dad was a diehard Gator fan there in Jessup, Georgia. So have some tie there with his dad being a diehard Gator fan, but FSU going to be really, really, really hard to beat for this. FSU kind of have been in the lead, trending for a bit. Could end up being a Florida State. And I do think Florida's closing the gap here, but I'd make a prediction for Florida State right now. I still think unless Florida, that's how that Florida goes on the field this fall and starts beating big team after big team after big team. You never know whose mind it will change. This could be one here in Tavion Wallace, one of the best linebackers in the country. All right, let's go to the defensive backfield before we wrap up here. Top 10 player overall, cornerback Naeem Alford out of Birmingham, Alabama, currently committed to Ohio State. Visited Florida for the first time in March, and Florida's optimistic about getting an official visit from him. 6'1", 175-pound, committed to the Buckeyes on February 4th, but has continued to visit other schools. Gators cornerback coach Will Harris went back and saw Alford, and back in January. He visited Alabama and Florida in March, as well as Georgia in April. So Auburn and Oregon are also in this battle. He was officially visited Ohio State on June 21st. On3 says of Naeem Alford his functional athleticism, smooth movement skills, elite change of direction, playmaking ability on Friday nights remind us of Stephon Gilmore. So Alford is used as a defensive back, a versatile offensive threat, lining up in multiple positions on that side of the ball as well. Andrew Ivins of 24/7 Sports says a toolsy cornerback with the size to match large perimeter weapons and the speed to cover the deep third. On some of the best testing numbers that we have come across thus far in the 2025 cycle, with a 4 or 5 second effort in the 40-yard dash on the ledger to go along with an 11-foot broad jump. already pretty versed in on and press man and off man coverage. 10 games, he was credited with 14 tackles, 4 interceptions, according to Max Preps. Carried the ball 22 times for 182 yards, 4 touchdowns on offense, while also catching 12 passes for 211 yards and 2 touchdowns. Returned a pair of punts for scores in the opening round of the playoffs. So, you're getting a lot there. A lot there with Naeem Offord, currently committed to Ohio State. Florida hopefully can change your mind a little bit with an official visit. But you start looking at this defensive back targets that here from Florida, and kind of hurt there when Hilton Stubbs from Mandarin in Jacksonville. But the question is, committed to USC, will that stick? In the end, I don't think so, but at the same time, that doesn't mean he's a shoe-in for Florida. He could decommit from USC, which I would predict at the moment. Doesn't mean Florida has to be the flipping spot. He has admitted plenty of times that Florida's own field performance will factor into his decision. So where does Florida turn in the meantime? Yes, you wait, but you do your work, you do your due diligence down the road too. If there's a spot, so be it. If there's not, so be it. So let's head down to South Florida. Bryce Fitzgerald from Columbus High, down in Miami. Miami might be the favorite here, but Florida is in this one. Fitzgerald has an OV set for Florida on June 14th. Florida was the childhood favorite school, immediately earned a spot in Fitzgerald's top 3 after offering in January. He then made his way to Gainesville in March. Top priority for the staff. Florida State, LSU, USC have official visits scheduled ahead of a potential August commitment. Miami will receive the final visit June 23rd through 25th for the top 200-ish player overall. And the last one here may be the next to commit. We'll see, but Caleb Singleton out of Orange Park, Fleming Island. Since Will Harris has joined the staff, the 3-star prospect has become a priority target. Singleton has visited Florida more than any other place, has been on campus 3 times just this year. The Gators are considered a team to beat right now. There's confidence in where Florida stands. Singleton currently has summer official visits scheduled to Rutgers and Florida and Kentucky. Texas A&M and LSU just offered, so we'll see what comes of that. Of course, Corey Raymond offered him here at Florida, has since re-offered him with the Tigers. Now, why does Florida like him? Will Harris appreciates Singleton's versatility in the defensive backfield, but is more than likely his safety. Harris has been joined by Billy Napier and Austin Armstrong in recruiting Singleton so far. Despite the lower star rating, the staff seems really high here. So pair that, of course, with how close Gainesville is to the Orange Park, Fleming Island area. Confidence is high. Singleton recently ran a 10.54 in the 100-meter. All right, so there you go. Some names, some highly rated, especially at the receiver spot. Hopefully, Florida can at least pull in one of those big-time, big-name targets. But as you can tell, just from what a lot of players have said, they want to see what Florida does this fall. Recruiting, earlier in tenures, results on the field don't matter as much, especially year 1. But year 2, we saw it happen firsthand a bit. That played a role. I won't say the only role in Florida's fall down the stretch. Now, thankfully, they were able to rebound a bit for the class of 2024. But when it was the height of that number 3 ranking at one point, we saw it falter down the stretch, and some of that was to do with the results on the field. We have heard players now want to see what Billy Napier and his team are on the field this fall. So there's some big-time targets, some targets that Florida feels pretty good about right now in the class of 2025. So, all right, that would do it for this episode of Gators Breakdown. I'm your host, David Waters. You can find me on social media at GatorDave_SEC. Guys and girls out there, thank you for joining me on this episode of Gators Breakdown.